Welcome back, my gardening friends, to National No Dig Day, 2nd of November 2023. No dig, which means you should not be putting a spade into the ground and adding materials throughout the growing season in layers. I grow giant vegetables, so sometimes I do need to dig down a little bit to get them out, but overall it's keeping that soil structure alive with worms and everything else that helps our plants grow. Here we've got some green manure, the field beans as a cover crop. Some white clover, another green manure, and winter tares. Now these will grow on over the winter, protecting the soil, stopping the soil erosion, and then we chop and drop. I won't dig them in, I'll just then put the compost on the top, or whatever other materials I've got, my homemade compost mixes, etc. So we need to keep a good store of materials. This is the last of my 2-year-old leaf mould, which is now nearly 3 years old because it's been in this bin nearly 12 months. This bin has got all my homemade compost that we made at the beginning of the season from the compost bin, from the other compost that we find, leaf mould, etc. This will stay in this bin, and this will eventually be sieved and be the materials that top all those beds up. Then we've got some of the compost that we find that are unscrupulously dumped by those growers. This is cocoa coir with perlite in, and this is just cocoa coir. But here we've taken this, we use it as a mulch to cover the beds, stop the weeds. I've scraped that back those 1 or 2 inches and put it back in there for use again. This bed was the onions, the red onions. We've harvested those, and then now we've put the temporary compost bins here. We've got 2. We've also got some of the white clover. This will be a cover crop. We sometimes add leaves as well. This will rot down over the winter. That was the last bed we had the temporary compost bins on, and look at those claret sprouting broccoli. Never had broccoli so tall before. Hopefully we'll be harvesting that in February and March. A long-term crop, about 11 months in the ground. But when we take these apart and spread it out, that will then cover the green manure. So why do I have temporary compost bins? Well, this will probably be the final add to the giant wormery. We collect the juices, it's on a slope. That'll all rot down, and that'll save me taking any of the uncomposted material out and then putting it back in afterwards. So that's why I have the temporary compost bins, and the worms that are in there will be added to the beds, etc., and into the compost mixes for anything that I grow in containers. And the juices that flow out are added to my leaf mould bins. Due to the fact that I've taken soil from out of the ground where the fruit trees used to be and where we grew the condor potatoes, there's about 3 or 4 ton of good quality garden soil there to add to my raised beds. Those are the leaves we collected last year. They're composted down now, and there's the leaves that we collected in 2021. So basically these 25 1-ton bags get moved from there into there. So if you get 25 1-ton bags, you'll end up with a 1 ton bag of leaf mould. So that's how much it breaks down, but it's such a good addition to any growing spaces. We've got Comfrey. This is one that does escape. We keep it under control the best we can. Then we've got the Beihong 14 here that should be sterile and shouldn't escape. And we add all this either to the compost bins or create a concentrate by adding everything into this bin, and then all the juices flow out into those containers there. So we've roughly got 20 litres of Comfrey concentrate to use on my growing spaces in the coming season. Here are my 2 manure bins. They're protected the best I can so that none of the rainwater gets into these bins. I top these up on a weekly basis, and it's full of life. They love the cardboard, they meet new friends and make baby worms. This is placed and constructed over a broken IBC, corroded at the top, so that's cut in half, and all the juices are collected in here. And again, because of Storm Babette, we've got quite a bit of material that's probably thinned out. So we've got a ready supply of well rotted manure on a rotation from one bin to another, and the liquids added to these 2 bins. It's surprising how much you use. A lot of my beds, like the parsnips, I use the same bed every other year, and I rejuvenate the manure layer by using a crowbar to get to the bottom and top that layer up with the manure runoff. We collect nettles as well, and of course the most precious thing on allotment is lots and lots of rainwater wherever you look. I use wood chips in the path. After 3 years we keep topping them up year after year, and since the pandemic I've managed to get some, so it's all topped off, and underneath there will be some lovely material to add to my mixes or just to add to the beds. I've done a little comparison using manure in these beds. These are relatively new beds, that's why those are slightly empty, because new beds will sink. You keep adding materials. When I first started growing 8 years ago, I collected the compost that we find, and any other materials the beds used to build up. They got that high that I eventually made the raised beds from scaffolding planks, which have done me proud over the years. Collecting materials, making materials, composting is so important to ensure you grow for the least amount of money. I've never bought compost just to spread on tops of my beds, because I do like to garden on a budget. And these are some of my potatoes that we keep in the containers until we need them at home. That's how I store them. And then of course we've got that lovely homemade compost materials to put in that container to use on the beds. And as we know, potatoes are one of the better crops to give you some lovely soil, no matter what the makeup. So a lot of my growing space is taken up by collecting materials and making materials, collecting rainwater, but you do have to sacrifice that to ensure you get some nice crops. As we get a nice little bit of sunshine this morning. Yummy sprouts. We did 3 scaffold planks high here, and that's just a great height to work on. And it looks like I'll be harvesting some more broccoli today. That's off one of the stems. It's regrew. And my carrots, which we've covered up, are staying nice and dry. So hopefully this year they won't rot and split too much. So I'm not fully no dig, but I do appreciate that worms hate being cut in half with a spade. So we do like to be gentle. They're the ones that build the drainage up, the structure of the soil, bring those worm castings to the top, and they also drag down all those lovely materials that you top off your beds. If you've liked the information and content of this video, please consider subscribing. Give me a thumbs up, click that icon bell. I keep forget to say that, but you please yourselves. You either want to watch me or you don't, to see what I get up to when gardening on a budget. Happy gardening to you all. Till next time, my friends. Ta-ra for now.